Alright, so in this video I'm going to tell you the first thing that you should do as soon as you create your Dialogflow agent, and that thing is to go to the settings. You can click on this gear icon and you will go to the settings page where you click on this general tab and scroll down all the way down and click on this, or rather enable this toggle which says log interactions to Google Cloud. And what that will do is it will write, as it says, it will write all the queries that is coming into your agent. It will log all that information to Google StackDriver. And if you're not familiar with Google StackDriver, it's a software which allows you to store all your logs in Google Cloud, and it's actually a very powerful software. So I'm going to tell you a few reasons why you might want to do that. But before I do that, I just want to mention that if you're going to use StackDriver, it actually does, it is a paid software, it's not free. However, the quotas and limits, you can go and take a look at it. It's actually like really generous. It's almost unlikely that unless you're building a really high volume Dialogflow bot, you're not going to incur any cost. And if at all you do, they charge something like, it's very low. It's about like $1 for, I don't know, a gigabyte worth of data or something like that. It's a very minuscule amount. Okay, probably less than that. I'm not really sure how much it is. So the thing is, once you do this, once you log the interactions to Google StackDriver, what happens is you can go to your Google Cloud Console and you can go to the associated project. In this case, it's called webdemo-ipax, and you can see that if you go and look at the logs explorer under that project, and you notice that you're actually able to do things like download the logs, and you can actually download it either as a JSON file or a CSV file. And you can see that there are some retention limits. That is, the log is automatically deleted every 30 days. You have to make sure that you go and download the logs before the 30-day period expires, and you may want to just put like a calendar entry to keep a reminder, basically, to make sure that you do that every so often. It's also possible to do this through like an API call. You can automate it and things like that. Okay, so why is that? Why is this important? The reason is, you notice that we have all the response information which is logged into the inside this StackDriver, and what this really allows you to do is think of it as a way to download the conversation history in Dialogflow. This is not a feature which is available out of the box as of this recording, which is August 2021. So by doing this, by logging all the interactions, by clicking on this toggle, there is a way for you to do this programmatically. That's the reason why I want you to do that. And there is also another reason, which is, in the case of Dialogflow, you might be familiar with Chatbase. It basically went into maintenance mode just recently, and what they did was they took the Chatbase analytics feature and they rolled it into Dialogflow itself. So now you can get that specific feature where you can look at session analytics and things like that. Inside Dialogflow, you can do that by going to this analytics tab, by the way, if you're not familiar with that. But I've talked about this before. The problem is, unlike Google Analytics, Chatbase Analytics is not quite as useful, because let's say that you look at this where it says the default fallback intent was triggered 13% of the time. Okay, now this is a problem because if the mapping was wrong, then this number is also wrong. And not only that, they don't have a way for you to just click on it right there and look at how the mapping went and maybe edit the value, and so that this will dynamically update itself or something like that, right? So they don't have a way for you to this percentages that you see, this funnels and all that, while it's visually pleasing, it's practically not very useful. Okay, what you really want is, if you want to make your bot more accurate, is you want to get a history of the conversations and manually mark them as whether the mapping was accurate or not. So in case you're interested in doing that, I have this course called Improving Dialogflow ES Accuracy, and the first chapter, called Basic Terminology, it talks about how you can measure the accuracy and the deflection rate of your bot And I'll just point out that this terminology chapter is free. You can see that all these videos, you have a preview, so you can watch the whole thing. You don't have to buy the full course, but I do have a lot of tips for you to improve the bot accuracy once you get a hang of like how you have to measure this information. So the point is, coming back to where we started, doing this, enabling this toggle as soon as you start, as soon as you create the agent, what it will allow you to do is it will allow you to download the conversation history in a format which is actually easy for you to measure accuracy, measure deflection rate, and do those kind of like custom things that you want to do. If you are advanced enough, you can, you know, dump it into some kind of a database and run SQL queries on it, and whatever you want to do. But the point is that you need the raw data to be able to actually do that. And you can get access to the raw data by doing this logging interactions to Google Cloud immediately as soon as you create your Dialogflow agent. So that's why I recommend that everyone who creates that project, they go ahead and do that as soon as they, as soon as they create the agent. And just remember that you have these retention periods, as well as remember that you have to, make sure that you are aware that it has a cost. But I also can tell you, if you build unless you're building a really high volume chatbot, in which case you probably aren't going to be watching this video, I think, unless you're doing that, this is going to be, it's not really going to cost you anything at all, in my opinion. So that's my tip, and I think that it's best that people who create these agents also have this log interactions to Google Cloud enabled, so that they are able to do some kind of DIY conversation analytics for the Dialogflow bots.